I'm here today with my grandfather,
Yep.
Dr. Louis F. Kayatin. He has been a pastor for 40 years. He's been my grandfather for 26.
Every year of your life.
Every single year of my life, ever since I was born. And today we're just going to talk a little bit about just some of the things that you've overcome and just as it pertains to your health and all of that good stuff.
Yeah,
so
cool.
kind of let's walk back. What year was it when you were first diagnosed with cancer?
It was in January of 2018
Okay.
that I was diagnosed with cancer. So that set on a course for the rest of that year. Some really stringent experiences and decisions that I had to make.
Yeah, so I guess in that moment, especially just being who you were to all of us, from the outside perspective, it was like, you know, our grandpa is healthy, he doesn't eat anything bad, doesn't drink, smoke, like all of those things don't really apply to you. You know what I mean? And so to hear that you had gotten cancer, it was like, no, that can't be real. You know what I mean? In that moment for you, what was that like to kind of get that news just emotionally?
Well, emotionally, it was pretty much an upsetting upheaval in your life. You know, you think, for all the reasons you just stated, well, I can't be that person because I eat right, I exercise, etc., etc. But I found out later, though, through the surgeries, that my bladder had a deformity in it, which created a pouch on the bottom of the bladder, and that's where the tumors were. So the doctor said that he believes that deformity contributed to the cancer, but we don't know for sure. But I think emotionally I was, after I get over the initial shock, I was like, okay, what do I have to do? What do I need to do? I was already eating healthy, not eating red meat, minimum amounts of sugar, trying to maintain my exercise regimen. But then all of a sudden it was like, okay, I got to take this to a new level.
Right. So it didn't really go to like any like sadness or anything like that. It went from like shock to determination then.
Definitely determination. I'm going to make some lifestyle changes here, like really serious. What can I do? So I started researching and talking to people that were either nutritionists. I met someone at Cleveland Clinic, met another person who was a naturalist, health advisor, and they began to give me some insight as to what I can do to minimize cancer's effect in your body, which I didn't realize. I didn't know any of this about cancer.
Yeah, like there's foods and things like that you could consume. So before we even get into that process, what did anything in those moments like shake your faith or make you question like God, like, yo, what's going on? You know what I mean? Like, I've been serving you for all this time. How could you let that happen? You know what I mean? Was there any of that happened in those moments, like at the beginning?
I don't think I was questioning God. I wondered why, you know? I mean, obviously I went to the Lord in prayer and I said, why did I have this or have this? What did I do? You know, you have to look at what you did. Maybe is this a judgment and you know, I kind of worked through all those emotions and realized that we live in a broken world, and in the broken world, people get broken as well. And so that's the beauty of grace. It's a provision that says when these things happen, you have hope. You have grace that comes from God that you can rely on and lean into. And so I was practically what I had preached all those years and told others, I was having to do myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I found God to be that place of comfort and a place of help, really, to say, okay, you lead me, Holy Spirit. What do I need to do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's amazing. So then once we get past that part, once you get into just learning all these things about food and different things like that, what were the steps you had to take in order to defeat this and become healthy? Like, what did you start to eat? Were there, obviously there's different treatments and things like that. What was that process like for you?
Well, it was a pretty difficult process because in January when I was diagnosed, they scheduled a surgery in March, and that was to remove the tumors. So then following the tumor removal, there was a chemotherapy regimen of 12 weeks that I was supposed to go on, and then the radical cystectomy, which was the final surgery that removes the bladder, removes the prostate, removes the lymph node glands, all of these things in your system, and then reconfigure through a stoma the way to eliminate urine, because I would no longer be able to do it, quote, the natural way.
Right.
So all of that was like, whoa.
That's a lot, yeah.
That was huge emotional. So I was on this pathway. But immediately when I had the surgery and went on the chemo failed. And my body wouldn't handle the chemotherapy. My blood counts dropped drastically to the point where it was, the oncologist said, look, you can't keep doing chemo. If we keep giving you chemo, something is going to kill you before the cancer does.
Right, yeah.
So I had to monitor my temperature constantly, if I got an infection at all, because I couldn't get around people because of my blood counts being so low. I had no immunity, basically.
Yeah.
So they gave me some time for that to build back up, and then they scheduled the surgery. Said we're just going to go to surgery, and that was May 31st of 2018.
Okay.
So in that time, I did a lot of research, and so I took 6 months of. Actually, I went a whole year, but I was taking supplements of pure vegetables, and I would mix that together in various drinks. And a lot of it was the cruciferous vegetables like kale and broccoli and all of those kind of things. And it was in powder form that I got, and it was all natural. And so I make these like drinks and these shakes, and it smelled like grass.
Terrible, yeah.
but that's what I would drink. I would drink that 3 times a day, and I did that for a full year. It was very expensive. I mean, this stuff cost about $1,500 a month, which there's no way I could afford that because my insurance didn't cover it.
Right.
But I had friends in ministry that rallied around me and sent me help, sent me offerings and things to help cover those expenses, and so I was able to continue that regimen, which I believe really helped me. But I found out one thing that I didn't know, and that's sugar activates cancer cells. And when you have cancer, if you continue to take amounts of sugar in your body, it's sort of like the old Mexican jumping bean thing. It's activated, it's moving.
It's going, yeah.
So minimum sugar, minimum activity. The other thing was alkalinity versus being a toxic environment, where you have to have an alkaline environment. And an alkaline environment minimizes the activity and movement of cancer. So I'm like, okay, well, how do I do that? I don't know how to change my alkalinity. I never do that before.
Absolutely.
So I was able to tap into a source, and that's all I drink. And even now today, post 3 years, that's all I drink is that kind of water, alkaline water, so that I keep my pH levels at a certain level to make sure that my environment is the healthiest it can possibly be to minimize cancer. Because my doctor gave me the prognosis basically saying, we're giving you 5 years. You have an 80 to 90% chance of life for 5 years. And then we'll see what happens after that. So they don't call me cancer free when I go back for my CAT scans, and they say, well, you don't see any reoccurring cancer.
Right.
So I thought, okay, that's cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain this
the same
to give
level.
myself, give myself an advantage.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but when I think about it from the big picture, it's like we should all be giving ourselves the advantage
From the beginning.
from every possible place.
And it's that proactive approach to your health. Is just, if you know that down the road these things can cause this, then why would you even waste time now? Like, get into it now. Start to provide that environment where you can be completely healthy. Right.
Yeah, because I think a lot of folks, though, even myself, would say, well, you know what, I'm healthy, I'm doing fine,
I'll be okay.
I don't have to do that, I'll be okay.
You're right.
But, it comes to a point when you're not okay, and it's too late to do something about not okay. I mean, you want to be, like you said, preventative. So that's why I'm in my regimen of exercise every day, and did 5 miles this morning, and I'll do 5 miles tomorrow, and every day. It's not an option for me, but it's for the purpose of the broadcast for the future. It is preparing for a better tomorrow, and an optimum tomorrow, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So throughout this entire process, is there anything that you've learned that you could share with somebody that's watching that you would just want them to know about, the perspective you've gained from this place of just, pain and, just healing and all these things? What would that be?
Well, one of the things for sure is when you go through something like this, I used to say that I tried to describe how I felt, especially when I was going through the chemo and my blood counts were so low and I was so weak. And I said I felt like I was in a complete dark tunnel, and I couldn't find the light. I couldn't find the pinhole, and I'm looking and searching, and you can't find it. But in that moment, you feel like there's no hope.
Right.
It's easy to give up, but you keep searching, and when you keep searching, you'll find that pinhole. You see that pinhole of light. Keep your focus on it, because it'll lead you. It'll lead you to that place of breakthrough.
Yeah.
That would be one thing, that when you're in that point of despair. The other is the rehabilitation part. You know, my surgery was 11 hours long. I had a 4-month recovery, and to try to walk was baby steps. But that's the key. You take a baby. It may be a baby step, but it's a step.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just have to keep taking steps day after day after day. The other thing I realized too is that on the other side, post-cancer, in all of my experience for that, pretty much that entire year, I love deeper. I live different. I'm a better husband. I'm a better friend. I'm a better person all around, because I understand the brevity of life. I did before.
Yeah.
But now I have this sense of maximizing the moment that I'm in, and appreciating every person for what they can contribute, even if you don't necessarily, evaluate them as being successful or being a good friend, or I don't really like them. It doesn't really matter, because they have something to contribute, and look for the good in people and realize that. So that has molded me differently that way. So I'm definitely looking at life from a different perspective.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to sit down and just share and open your heart up. I'm sure the people will gain just, a lot from your experience. And, it's cool to see that when people go through things, even if we weren't the ones who personally went through it, we can learn so much just from, all the things that you've been able to overcome. So.
Well, thank you. And I want to say one last thing. I'm part of the Fourth Angel program out of the Cleveland Clinic, which basically is any individual that goes through the similar kind of cancer, bladder, prostate, whatever it is. They have a program there where they would assign a mentor, and I've become one of those mentors now.
Okay, yeah.
Where if someone is going through something, maybe they can contact you and say, hey, look, my father's gone through this, or my friend's gone through this. Can they talk to me? And I would love to do that. I'd love to be a part of helping coach them through it, and some of the things that I learned. Yeah. Because when you go through this for the very first time in your life, you're like, I don't know what to do here.
Right.
So that's why a channel like this is so vital, because you can pick up information and also connect with people that can help you along the journey.
Well, we'll definitely get that link for people to be able to click right through off of the video as well.
That's cool.
So we'll get that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys for watching.
See ya.